Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the RT Machine Podcast. We have
Eric's posing for the
pictures. Yeah, Miranda's here chasing into the set.
This is episode 20.
Episode 20 already. Man, we are cruising through, aren't we?
Yeah.
Who do all we got in the room here?
You're going backwards.
I'm going backwards.
Eric's in the room.
Todd Hensley, visiting from Entecco down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Ron's here this week.
Dean's here.
Very good.
Don't forget, we got one other guest.
Oh, yeah, we got Daisy.
Yeah.
Daisy's in the room.
Daisy.
Long-haired Dotson.
Dean's other wiener.
Is she napping yet? She's been eating a lot this morning.
Yeah, she was on that elk bologna.
Oh, did she like that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I gave her some of that, and she didn't want to eat her kibble.
She's done some tricks.
Spoiler.
She was standing up for it.
I think she's aware that there's still two pieces on the table.
Yeah, she can smell it.
She said, yeah, I'm going to wait for those.
She like that heavy mustard seed content in there.
Is that what that is? Mustard seed?
That's what we kind of figured out the last time when
That's good.
Brian was here.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty
no
good.
kidding. Very good. Yeah, we're back up. We were doing whole dust collection tutorials today, so we figured we'd chime on and get Todd to explain a little bit about what they do and how they do it.
Well, I appreciate it. It was always a nice opportunity to get up and see you guys, especially during hunting season when guys slip out the door a little bit.
Yeah, they had
After
to get
half
out
the
of
crew
here.
ran out.
Lost Cody and Ryan already. But no, we went just kind of freeform through some of the tools that I use when we look at dust collection projects and shared them with the folks here. One of the things that we always start with when we're doing dust collection is take a look at the machine list, because dust collection is all about determining how much you need and what type of dust you're generating and how you're running the shop. A lot of it has to do with utilization of your machinery, port sizes, locations. And
I think
all
it's
that
a
good stuff.
difficult thing for most people to try to figure out what they need.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
why they need an expert, basically. That's what I always say. We got to bring somebody in who knows what they're talking about, because
Yeah.
it's not going to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought, and Cody said the same thing, was when you're talking about putting the biggest draw equipment furthest away, which helps the draw on all the small machines.
Right, kind of counterintuitive. Most people think they want to put it closest to the big machine, but we like to put the big machine a little further away, and that kind of creates a siphon that pulls in the other machines as well. So,
So have you ever calculated on that what the CFM difference would be at those ports? Have you ever monitored that? So from when you're actually doing it, like we were just talking about, being farther away and then putting those other ones in there. So if you just had those as a direct port CFM requirement, but then you actually are now gaining volume and suction, how much that ramps up for that?
I've not seen that done. What we can do in the field, and we did this earlier this week at a shop down in Florida. We can go out there with a Fluke monitor. Fluke makes a little kit for measuring airflow in your ductwork, and it's basically a pitot tube. If you're familiar with the term pitot tube, it's used on aircraft engines for monitoring their airspeed, And what we do is we insert it in the line, and it's I compare it to sticking your hand out the window. If the car is stopped, you don't feel any pressure, but if you're going at 60 miles an hour, you feel a lot of pressure there. So we're looking for how much pressure is coming from that velocity, and convert that velocity into that pressure into a velocity in terms of feet per minute. Take that times the cross-sectional area of the pipe, and it gives us a CFM. So we can actually go out in the field and measure velocity pressure in any duct that's out there. Just drill a little 3/8 inch hole, insert the pitot tube, and the kit's available. I think one of my dealers was looking at it this week. It was about $700 to $800 on Amazon,
Oh, yeah?
which was surprising because on the Fluke website, I think it was $1,200. So Amazon likes to have the lowest price.
Yeah.
Definitely had a good
Sometimes.
discount on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's pretty easy to use. And we talked a little bit about it during our training session today. If you put a manual gate on each of your machines, you can use that to shut it off entirely. But a manual gate can also be opened partway, and you can balance out a system and try to maintain the same velocity throughout the system, or give more air to a machine that might need more air by partially opening and closing gates and putting resistance in the airstream. So
Yeah, we were just messing with that a little bit. We just put that our friends and buddies over at Green Street Joinery. We just installed that Streebig giveaway saw that we put in a few weeks back, and we had everything kind of cut off and just going right to the saw, and then over by the bander, which is forefront of the unit. We actually did a little bit of dial in on there and just gave a little more airflow, and it was amazing how much it picked up. From being in a closed system.
Yeah.
Just pretty much trying to pull on the saw to, hey, let's open a couple of the gates, and then it just really accelerated the draw.
Yeah. That fan's looking for air.
Yeah.
You got to feed the fan.
And what is static pressure when it comes to dust collection? I hear that term thrown around a lot. Of course, I know what static is. So, but how does that relate to?
Well, a fan's going to be designed on a fan curve, which gives you a certain CFM at a given static. And you can trade CFM for static. If you go up in CFM, you lose static. If you go down in CFM, you gain static. And static is the amount of resistance or amount of effort it takes to pull the air through the ductwork through the system.
Right.
And you can measure the static at any point with that same kit from Fluke. You unplug one of your tubes, and now you've got the static pressure at that point. And it's how much suction there is. And it's typically measured, both the velocity pressure and the static are measured in inches of water gauge.
Right.
If you remember the old the old manometer, you can see how much water is displaced in the U-tube manometer. And that's where that term comes from and that metric comes from.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see some of the machine suppliers call out a specification for how much airflow and static they want at a given at a given location.
Yeah, I've seen that on some of the quotes we do. Good.
So we try to do that, and we do. Entecco uses backward inclined fans that give us a little bit more static than you can achieve with a radial blade fan. So they're a little more compact and a little more efficient for the same size fans.
And there's more like a donut style flow, correct, going into the fan blades. When I was down there, I was looking at the units in the plant. It's all kind of funneled in, other than just a flat concave like on some of your competition.
That's correct. We use a little bit of a venturi coming into the fan. It's a little smoother, less resistance coming in.
Almost looks like a mini velocity stack within the...
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you're becoming much more efficient.
Exactly.
When people are talking about apples to apples CFM, maybe you could get into that a little bit, what that creates over. Not all 10 horsepower is created equal, correct?
No, it's you want to look at how much static you're getting as well. How much static the fan is able to generate at that CFM.
Yeah.
Because that's going to give you the suction, which is going to pull the dust into the system.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did you get your physics degree?
Actually, I do have an engineering degree. I was a chemical engineer a long time ago. Not much chemicals in chemistry in what I'm doing these days, though. Yeah.
So tell a little bit about the different size units. I mean, do everything from small shop to, obviously, we've worked with you on some pretty big units.
We do interior dust collectors from 5 horsepower up to 20 horsepower. This fabric area is anywhere from about 250 square feet up to about 700 square feet. So another key metric in designing a dust collection system is making sure you have an acceptable air to cloth ratio. It's not really a ratio. It's actually the velocity of the airflow through the media in feet per minute. We take our CFM or our airflow and we divide it by the square footage of fabric. What's left is feet per minute. And on our central systems, we're in the 6 to 7 feet per minute range.
Okay.
And on our interior systems, we're in the 10 to 13 range.
Is that what they call it, like the 10 to 1 or the... Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. People say it's a ratio. It is. It's a number over a number, but there's actually dimensions to it. And sometimes, well, certainly throughout Europe, they're going to represent that in a different unit of measure. Instead of feet per minute, it might be meters per second. So
Right.
It's important to know what units you're using when you do an air to cloth ratio.
Okay.
Yeah, and then some of the other technologies like the bag over bag that have the larger diameter bags, 20-inch diameter filter bags, they're going to be up around 35, 36 feet per minute on the air to cloth ratio.
Okay.
And the lower the figure, the better. That's why we go down to a 6 to 7.
Yeah, because when we
systems.
always learned on the used machines, you use that 10 to 1 because it gives you a kind of a higher number. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But what we can do is in applications that need more fabric, we can put extra fabric on our 5 horsepower, our 10 horsepower, 15 horsepower to give you the lower air to cloth ratio.
Okay.
That's something that you're looking for.
Right.
And one thing we talked about today that your guys didn't know about was using our systems without a fan. They can be used as an after filter on a cyclone or some other device to give you a final stage of filtration efficiency.
That makes sense. I never really thought about it, but yeah, I guess that would make sense. Just
That's-
basically a bag house.
It is.
to
It
recover
adds
filter.
It adds static to the system, so you got to make sure your fan is sized properly. For
Right. Right.
that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking quite a bit about the regular bags compared to the membrane bags.
Yes. Yeah. We've seen great results. We started a trial about a year ago. Excuse me. I'm sorry, 2 years ago. It'll be in February, I think, that we've got 2 years on these. And the membrane bags are showing very, very good durability. They're showing very, very low penetration. Anybody that's got an interior dust collector knows that if they go by and they slap the bags, the filter bags, that there's going to have dust coming through.
It's a big poof.
Exactly. With the membrane bags, we're seeing that the membrane bags are still a bright white on the outside, and they're not seeing any dust penetration. So if you've got a finishing operation or one that's critical to fine dust, or sanding operation, you want to make sure you capture all that fine dust. The membrane's going to be the way to go.
Yeah, from some of those photos you showed, it was quite a bit of difference. Like it was unbelievable, really.
The standard bags are absolutely caked.
Yeah.
What's the main difference between like a standard bag and a membrane bag?
So the membrane is actual laminate. We take the standard bag, or our vendor takes the standard bag, and they lay it's almost like saran wrap, so it's a clear film that they lay on top of it and laminate the two of them together. And that film is made out of an expanded polytetrafluoroethylene, PTFE, which is Teflon, which used to be used on frying pans when we were kids.
Yeah. Right.
And everything slid right off of it. So what we see is that the dust slides right off the bags and doesn't go through them at all. It's giving us very, very good life.
Yeah, we were just talking about we can actually put those, if somebody has an existing system, we can actually retrofit.
Yeah, there's other systems out there. Wasn't sure of that. No, we've made some replacement bags for some of the competitive units out there. We've got a partner about 30 minutes from our shop that does a great job on small orders and accommodating those requests.
That was a good tick.
You like that one?
He's good at those. He got
Yeah.
back on Cody on that one earlier today. What's the lowest? 0?
Yeah, we were just talking about we should just call Cody. He's on his way to his deer stand and see if he'll pick up.
Yeah, he might be a couple beers deep by now.
You up there already?
No.
Nobody was stopping. What was the brewery? Knew something?
I don't think he's going that way.
Not that
yeah,
way.
New Trail's over
New
towards
Trail.
Williamsport.
Yeah, I think they're heading to New York.
Oh, he's
right?
on to New York.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Trying to kill anything up there. I think this weekend's their kill anything weekend, right?
Yeah, and it's a free-for-all up there.
Anything that moves.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
I guess so. I've never gone up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he
Where-
said it's like turkey, bear, and deer, and
I think so. Yeah.
maybe throw a little small game in there.
Whatever moves,
Yeah.
it's going to get shot.
I just know from the guys that go up there, I hear the phrase, if it's brown, it's going down quite a bit.
Yeah.
So wear plenty of orange.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Exactly. So some of your bigger systems, they're a modular. Yours is a modular type system for
That-
the outdoor unit.
That's correct. It's I guess you could call it the European style. It's very, very popular in Europe. You don't see a lot of the round units in Europe.
Right.
It's expandable. Each module handles 13,000 CFM. Each module has two 25 horsepower fans in it. So as we build them up, let's say we take a 3-module system, it's going to have 6 25 horsepower fans, or give you the equivalent of a 150 horsepower fan. But the beauty of ours is that if you lose one of those fans, you still got 5 more fans running.
Right.
Whereas you lose a 150 horsepower fan, whether it's a bearing or a starter, or what have you, then you're basically dead in the water.
So you're gonna have that. You're gonna have 6 outlets coming out into the plant, or do you funnel those like 2 into 1, or how do you do that?
We have a fan plenum on the top, and the hopper is common to the entire system, so the fans work together without
Okay.
really pulling from a zone or anything like that.
Okay.
So what we do is every other module we put a return air system in that delivers the air back into the building through a perforated piping that's going to be very low noise level. We insulate that piping so that the noise is absorbed, and we have a explosion protection on that as well, the isolation
okay.
that you need for the return air system. And there's a summer-winter gate, so if in the summertime you want to dump the air in the
waste,
atmosphere, you just dump that hot air outside.
Right.
Yeah, it works real well. Kind of get some ventilation in the building, pulling 52,000 CFM out and letting the fresh air flow in through the dock doors or whatever
Yeah.
openings you have on
Yeah,
it.
it makes sense.
Yeah, but in the wintertime when you're heating there, or if you have a conditioned space in the summertime, you'll want to return it to the building.
Correct.
And we've got very, very high efficiency coming off of there. The air is very clean. It doesn't have to go through any additional filtration.
Right.
Yeah. And with the 6 fans, we can also run the system like a smaller system. If you have
Whatever is needed.
Exactly. If you have an evening shift or a weekend shift that runs, a portion of the plant, you can set it up so that it only runs 1 fan. And the system actually knows to do that on its own. We give it a set point, and if a bunch of gates are closed off, it'll only turn on 1 fan.
Okay.
As you open up the gates, it'll start to turn on the other fans and give you the amount of airflow that you need.
So
Really pretty
that's if
efficient
you
system.
have the automatic gates that you're tied into.
Automatic or manual.
You just have
yeah.
to be tied into them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that system doesn't even talk to the dust collector. Dust collector measures pressure
Oh.
and hits that set point.
Oh, I see. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So if it's only got an 8-inch line from the grinder coming to it, it knows it doesn't need a lot of air, and it might just run half of a fan. And we use the variable frequency drives, which gives us a soft start capability, so there's no high inrush amps on the when you turn the system on, and allows you to run it at a slower speed.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit on just energy draw.
Yeah.
And a lot of depending on what part of the country you're in and what part of the states you're in, sometimes they're, they're getting billed on their highest demand rate of the day. So to eliminate that hard starts and pull on a big amperage when you're really not running at that draw, is pretty important.
Exactly. So that's one of our strongest selling features is the redundancy and the energy savings that you get. Running it that way.
Yeah, I think I'm not positive, but I know there was an article I was reading. I think the company had moved to Georgia, and they were like up in New York. This is probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and they were just getting crushed with all types of extra added expenses. So they ended up buying this property in Georgia, and they got. It was like dirt cheap compared to where they were in New York, and moved the whole operation. And all the taxes were so cheap, but the only problem was they billed per day like that on their demand. But so what they ended up doing is they ended up putting a generating system in to take the hard load.
Interesting.
And certain things that they didn't run at a different part of the day. So it was actually cheaper for them to put that whole system in, run that, and I think they were running off like natural gas or something.
Okay.
And then they would fade into the regular line power coming in, and to keep themselves at a stable rate, which I thought was a great article.
Yeah.
Just what they did, but how much money they actually saved coming from New York operation and putting this into Georgia, and it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's huge today. And all different equipment. I don't think a lot of people look at it as hard as they should a lot of times because they could be really spiking their system, and you can have thousands of dollars. I know in our shop we did something on our air compressor. We actually did a air audit, and we had the auditing equipment running for like 2 weeks on our system because we ran like 2.5 shifts.
Okay.
And then it monitored and knew what our air draw was, power requirement, and all that. So we actually sized into, a variable speed unit, just because if you're only running at 5 horsepower, and then it would progressively, go up into whatever your draw was without getting monster spikes on the system.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think more people should really look at that. I mean, have you run any scenarios?
We've got some basic spreadsheets where we've looked at the cost impact, and there's definitely savings there. It's hard to project because utilization can be all over the board. You just don't know what products are going to come through a plant because a lot of your utilization is driven by your product mix for a cabinet shop, and you can forecast some figures on that and estimates. If we're going to use, instead of 100% of the horsepower, we're going to use 75% of it. You can calculate the savings based on that.
Yeah.
Other
than a
2,000
say
hours per year in a
150
kilowatt hour rate
or a 150 horsepower motor running wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can just run it. You can put 150 horsepower on a VFD as well, but we have a much wider range of airflow that we can run because we can step down to running one fan at 30 hertz and gives you about 3,000 CFM, 3,500 CFM. So it's basically running like a small inside unit
Yeah.
if you're just running one machine.
I know when we did ours, we were actually we reduced our electric bill by $1,000 just with
Per month?
per month.
Wow. That's
Just with
significant.
that one
Yeah,
application.
that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. So tell everybody where your machines are made in Entecco.
Our machines are the interior units are entirely made in the U.S. We source our metal components, filter bags, fans from U.S. and North Carolina primarily. We assemble them in Winston-Salem. That's a new one for us. We had been in High Point since we were started 7 years ago now, and moved over to Winston-Salem over Labor Day weekend of this year. So we're in a new space that's about 3 times the square footage of our previous space. A lot of indoor equipment, overhead cranes, and just it's nice to be have a little bit of elbow room. Our exterior central systems are brought in as kits from Germany, and we assemble those in Winston-Salem. We get some of those components. The fans come from the U.S. The screws, some of the ancillary equipment, the control panel is U.S. based.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So are you making them, or you're buying the control panels?
we're buying the control
Okay.
panels right now.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a partner in Winston-Salem right down the street from us
Okay.
that does them for us, probably 5 miles from our shop. So we
Oh,
have a good
good.
relationship with those guys.
So you're pretty much American made almost. Huh?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yep. Very
How many
proud of that.
people you have working down there in North Carolina?
We're I think we're at 28 right now, 28 or 30. Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Including some field service guys all over the country, a couple of sales guys, all the back office stuff and plant.
What all area do you cover?
I'm covering from the Mississippi River to the east, and then
Okay.
Dan Stoltz out of St. Louis is covering the western half of the U.S., and he also covers Wisconsin and Illinois. A little bit easier for him to get to those than it is for me. Yep.
Oh.
But a lot of travel.
Yeah, I would say it's a lot of territory. For
Yeah,
one
it's fun. I
person.
enjoy it.
A lot of woodworking companies on the east of Mississippi.
Yeah, I see a lot of woodworking shops, and every one of them's just a little bit different.
Now you do other industries?
We do. I'm not involved with other industries. We have 2 other sales guys that are working in recycling, energy, aluminum, and foundry. So we do some heavy industrial stuff as well. And those units are being fabricated in the U.S. as well right now.
And you were selling with a different company before. How long have you been with Entecco?
I've been with Entecco since January 15th of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
you
coming
said
up on 5 years.
And you said they've been here for 7.
And it was 2 years before that they started up.
Okay.
Yeah. And Entecco started over in Germany in 2011, 2012. Yeah, I think it was December of 2011.
And you worked how long in dust collection before that? You worked for a different
Gosh,
company?
I've been in dust collection and filtration since 1999.
99.
25 years next year.
Okay.
Yep. Long run. Hard to believe, quarter
Yeah.
century. Making me feel old, Ron. Thanks.
Yeah, I started this in
I'm
1999.
looking
So
on the wall and I see RT Machine Co. established 1999. So right
So-
at the same time. That's a good run.
yeah, we had a good run.
Yeah.
So,
I heard
lots to go.
something the other day. There was the oldest dog in the world finally passed away
I saw that.
age
yeah.
of 31,
Holy
which
cow.
is the year which was 1992. So that was the year I graduated college. So
Okay.
that dog's seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Sounds young, and
A lot of change, doesn't it? Though.
How old were you in 1999, Dean? None years old.
None.
none.
years old.
0 years old. Just a figment of your mother's imagination.
Glimmer in his father's eye. Yeah,
We're pretty unique too. You have a very quick turn time.
we do. On the interior collectors, we keep all the components in stock and a lot of common components between ours. So we can turn them out if you're in a hurry. We can get them out in a week. Usually, if there's a little bit of a duct package or starters or some auxiliary equipment with it, it might take 2 weeks.
Yeah, which is
And
fantastic
we
in
can do
today's
installation.
marketplace.
We can do installation and duct design as well. Yeah,
Or you can buy the stock machine from RT Machine Company.
there you go.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get an order for that here soon.
There we go.
The Andrew order. Remember, the father said we don't need one because he had one. Well, now he doesn't have one. So,
Oh, something happened to it? It's like Spicoli's shirt.
So the
Something must have happened to him.
son said, send me the one on the original order. And I said, well,
You guys had shirts on when you came in here.
so, yeah, hopefully we'll get that one sold. Been to a couple of shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That was a fun one this year.
down at
In Lancaster.
Lancaster, yeah. I was only there for about 4 hours. I walked in Thursday and took me like an hour to get to the booth, talking to people. Hung out for a couple hours and then left. So
Yeah.
I guess we did pretty good down there.
Yeah, we did all right. This is Todd's second appearance on the show because he
That's
did,
right.
He did the short
Yeah.
one.
Did the
there.
short one down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
we
was
got
a
a little
tough one
more-
to do on site while
Yeah.
we were operating. That
Oh
was-
yeah, there were still customers rolling through the booth, and we're trying to do a podcast. It's not ideal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we thought we were like, let's do it at lunchtime, like because the day before, like it totally died off and nobody was around, and then all of a sudden we start to do the podcast and everybody's coming back out of the woodwork and stuff. So,
Yep.
Yep.
hey, you live and learn. We're trying to figure it out as we go.
It was worth a shot.
We've had
Yeah.
a couple.
So the exterior units are called the Schlingmeister. Is that your term, or
The
is that
Schlingmeister, yes. So the company that we work with over in Germany is Nestro. They don't have a presence in the U.S., so we're their exclusive partner over here. And their technical director is Richard Schlingman.
okay?
So that's the source of the name. Our president, David Edgerton, created the name
Gotcha.
and the legacy of the Schlingmeister. Yeah.
I think he watched American Pie too much. The Stiffmeister.
You knew there had to be a story behind that, right?
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting name.
He's a little embarrassed by it, I think, when we see him. When we talk about it.
That's the guy.
Yeah,
Here's our guy.
It's the guy we named our unit after.
exactly. Exactly. But it's been a good unit for us. We've got several installations throughout the U.S. that very, very happy customers. We get a very, very long bag life on these. We had three that were sold back in 2008, I believe. Nestro tried to come into the U.S. market and sold 3 central collectors and then kind of backed off. I think the U.S. and European markets are very different. And we still talk to those customers. There's one in Alabama, one in Oklahoma, and one in West Virginia. And the folks in Oklahoma and Alabama are about to change their bags out for the first time in 15 years.
Wow. That's
So
pretty good.
15 years with a 40-hour work week is about 30,000 hours. And we just did inspections all those over the last couple months, and bags still look like they're in great shape, but they're going to go ahead and change them out, try to stay ahead of it. What happens is the bags start to get blinded over with dust, and you start to lose airflow because the resistance through the bags is too great. And we're going to go ahead and change those bags out for them.
Yeah, which in turn puts load on the system if you're starting to jam up.
Yeah, when they get those new bags on and flip that switch, boy, they're going to be impressed with
Yeah.
I'll bet.
suck the paint off their machines.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that job we're looking at on Monday. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
a super nice one to.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited about it. And like I said, we've got an installation over there in West Virginia, not too far from them, probably.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
We can get them over. Yeah, they're on the debate of they have 2 indoor systems now, and I think a lot of stuff's not sized properly, and we're also going to quote it as an outdoor system too. If we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the natural progression. You know, you start out with a kind of a hobbyist dust collector, and then you upgrade to a 10 horsepower unit, and then you think about going outside and realize the expense to jump to outside is pretty significant.
I'll
So
bet.
we see a lot of shops that have 2 or 3 or 4 inside collectors, and then they get sick of taking the bags off and throwing them away,
Yeah.
and end up switching over to a central collector at that time.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of residual just in it from their hand sanding operations as well, and yeah, I think once we take a look at that, we might be able to figure out a way to tie that system into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. Some of the smaller shops. I was in one on Friday, and he had 6
6 inside collectors.
inside collectors.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10
And
horsepower.
Was fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's closing now, but
Yeah.
he was never really thought about anything else.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the landlord or the municipality. You can't have one outside.
Yeah.
If you're a small enough shop, you just got to keep adding those inside ones, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. But we do some business in Florida, and it's hard to sell the central collectors down there because of the hurricane risk.
Yeah, right.
27-foot dust collector blowing around town.
Yeah,
About
would not be good.
No. We've got an installation in Michigan where we actually put one on the roof of the building. So it's sitting about 60 feet in the air.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
2-module system. That's sitting up
We've
there.
seen that.
Impressive.
Seen that in North Carolina. Some
Yeah.
of those old mold owls
Oh, yeah.
up on the roof.
Right. One of the things that I'm most proud about in Entecco is while we're a small company, it gives us the ability to address problems that come up in the field. We try to listen to the market and hear what they're asking for. And some of the introductions that we've rolled out over the last couple of years are the membrane fabric that we've talked about a little bit. But we've also focused on trying to minimize the frequency of emptying out your waste receptacles. And those little 50-gallon bags fill up pretty quickly. So we came out with a 700-gallon dump bin that allows you to run for quite a bit of time before you have to empty it out.
Yeah, I like that whole concept. It definitely, it's worth the extra money because you're going to save it,
Yeah.
over the term.
Yeah.
Tell us your opinion of the plastic collection bags.
Yeah, they suck.
I think you used a different term earlier.
Yeah, we try to keep it a little cleaner on here. Although some of those words have been thrown around.
Why
I
today
said-
are we keeping it clean?
Yeah, I was going to say those.
So usually when you're in these conversations, what you have to do is you have to go get the janitor involved and ask him how he would, the guys that are doing all that cleaning.
Yeah.
And what would you like to do? Because
Yeah.
it's brutal. And I used to do them.
Yeah.
And I used to hate that stuff. It was
Yeah.
like anytime you can turn something into a bin where you can roll it out with the forklift
Yeah.
and dump it,
Well, another feature that we came up with is right there at the fan inlet, we'll put a 3-inch port in with a manual blast gate on it and 15, 20 foot of flex hose, which basically turns the dust collector into a shop vac. So that if you have a spill around the dust collector, you can just use that hose to tidy up real quickly rather than using a broom and dustpan. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to say our dust collectors are the suckiest. Another thing we did recently, I shared some photos and videos with the guys today, is we had a customer that wanted to pull their dump bin out the short end rather than the long end. Our standard construction has it so that you can pull the dump bin from the front or the back of the unit, but if you need to pull it off the end, we didn't have a solution for them until about a month ago. We came up with a leg spreader design that allows you to bump out the legs and give you an extra foot of clearance, which allows you to pull that dump bin out from the short end as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there are a couple other projects in development that I shared with the guys that we're not quite ready to share with the larger community yet, but hopefully in January we'll have
we're getting close.
some news. Yeah. Hopefully in January.
Well, we can also do them as the rotary airlock and dump into a blower and
Yeah,
Well,
we
okay.
have folks that 3 different options coming off the rotary airlock. We have an installation in Connecticut where they've got, and one in Mississippi where they drop it into a screw conveyor and carry it over into a large open top container. We've got relay systems where they'll drop into a 8-inch tube and a 10 horsepower blower that blows it over to a covered container. And then we also have some folks that have put them on leg extensions. We offer a 30-inch leg extension that would allow you to put about a 4-foot box under there if you want to just drop it.
Just
into
dump
a
it
box.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have an application that's cutting plastic lumber, and they like to take that waste material and melt it back down and make more plastic lumber out of it. So they just drop it into a Gaylord container and run it through the recycle process.
Is there a larger bin on the bottom when you're just doing that rotary dump into the bin? Is it that?
We don't provide a container. Some people put a tilting hopper underneath it. We leave it up to the customer and whatever they want to do. Now,
Is that on a timer then? Is
the
it just
relay
dumping
system.
every so?
No, it's continuous.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a revolving door that's on its side.
Rubber seal. Right?
Rubber tips on the veins, and as it
Keep the
rotates
pressure.
around, and now
dump it
the
down.
veins will wear out over time. You have
Yeah.
to replace them every couple of years when they start to leak.
Yeah. And that's a nice option.
Yeah, it's a really nice option.
It's all a matter of money, always.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing one of our partners out in Utah is putting briquetters underneath their indoor systems. So
Dump it right in. Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're doing that kind of volume, why eliminate one more?
Yeah. You don't, from our studies, you don't get a lot of compaction, especially if you're doing like an MDF dust where it's pretty compact anyway. You might reduce it 10, 20%. I don't know. You'd have to get some of the briquetter guys on here to tell you exactly what they're doing. But that doesn't save you a lot of space. Now it's a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
if you have briquettes. But if you have a loose solid wood chip, then you can compact it pretty nicely. That stuff's pretty fluffy.
Right.
And you might get a 50-60% reduction in volume if you do it that way.
Yeah, I just watched a video the other day. A smaller shop. They were they were making the briquettes pretty very similar. They were going right into a unit, and then they were bagging them. They had a bagger right on it, and then they were burning at their facility. And then they were also, then I guess a lot of the family and stuff, everybody had
Taking them home.
had burners because I think they were up in like Minnesota or something. So
Yeah.
it was cold, so it was continuously just making the bags of briquettes. And,
Yeah.
and like what we did, we augered in, and we had an auger fed system that went right into our incinerator.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then
In your shop.
heated the whole building. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was quite the system.
Yeah. Most of your dumps are going to be charging you for weight. So if you're compacting, it doesn't change the weight of it. So it would
Right.
change the frequency that you're making hauls over to the dump, but it wouldn't necessarily change your disposal costs in terms of weight dumped.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of panel processing stuff, so we didn't have a good way of compacting.
Yeah.
It just didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't like
Wouldn't
it.
hold together.
No.
And when you get into panels and the adhesives, and people
Yeah.
get concerned about burning that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a little tricky.
Yeah, we just augered it right into the burner. Burned it like 1,200 degrees. So yeah, not much is left.
No, at that temperature, you get most of it.
Huh.
Yeah, it was a good way to do it. I mean, we saved a lot of money,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
not only in just the waste, but the heating of the building. And I think we did our initial calculations. It was like 10 to 12,000 a month.
Really. Yeah.
Between
significant.
the heat and the disposal, and hell, we did those calculations. I think, man, probably around the early 90s.
Oh, that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, in today's marketplace, you think at $12,000 in 1990. Today it's probably 30,000.
Easily.
Right.
Yeah.
And the shop was warm. It wasn't like when a lot of times you're pulling back the heat. Okay, it's going to be 48 to 50 degrees. Where we were hot.
Yeah.
Had to open the doors. Open the doors up. It's too hot in
The
here.
winter.
Is that in Central PA or was that?
Yeah, Central PA. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out really good.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming across more guys that are running the boiler units too now for generating power. So I don't know how. Do you guys get into dealing with some of that?
I mentioned that we partnered with Nestro, and Nestro has an entire line of boilers and generators over there, but we've not really done much of it in the U.S. I've looked at a couple projects in the Great White North, and even up there it was difficult to justify the capital costs. Long payback from that was a couple of years ago that we looked at it.
Any kind of rough numbers? Just
Oh
to,
boy, nothing comes to mind. Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at it, so I'd hate to throw out something
yeah.
and give people false hope.
It's an expensive proposition, though, putting in the burner and everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's if you're doing hot air, it's not one. But when you go to a boiler system,
Yeah.
now you're talking about all different closed container and other certifications. And yeah, that's where that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the liabilities.
Now, if you've got a kiln, if you're in a wood yard, then you can turn that steam into
Yep.
heat and versus electricity. But if you're trying to turn it into electricity,
Yeah, I have customers in New York. That's what they were doing. They had a 100 kilowatt generator originally.
Okay.
And that went south on them, and they wanted more for the bearings to rebuild the
Really?
generator than it was, and he ended up buying a 50 horse for like $10,000 that was used and put that in. And it's funny, we were just getting into that. I was down at Northeast Hardwoods in West Virginia, and they had a system in and pulled it out because in West Virginia they have a total lock on the energy, and if you're not producing 110% of your needs,
yeah,
they penalize you for running a generating system.
Rather than buying
Really?
it from them.
Yeah,
The
so
power.
they ended up pulling it out. He didn't
That's
give me
crazy.
how much but they ended up having to pull it out because the penalties were more than the benefits.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was pretty crazy what they did there.
Huh.
So check your regulations.
Yeah. No kidding.
Good
You know,
advice.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was really, that's, speak about government overreach, man. It's like
For sure.
full on. So,
I was trying to think back to some of the topics we covered during the training session. One other thing that came up was buildings with a low height, low ceilings.
yeah.
And we do have an option for that as well. We can put you in an 8-foot tall unit that fits in just about anywhere you're going to go.
Yeah. I think we actually bid one up in
We did.
Brooklyn,
Yep.
which that's still on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had to get over the hump on the edge banner purchase first, and now they want to tie everything together. So,
Yeah.
which was smart.
Yeah.
They were looking at some smaller units, and they're just going to put a Band-Aid on the banner for right now until they can get into the whole project. So
Yeah.
it was still, it's still relatively inexpensive for what the whole project was. So,
Yeah. And because we have the flexibility on our interior units, we can add more bags and still give you the same fabric area and keep your air to cloth ratio where you need to be if you want shorter bags. So, a lot of options. We always like a challenge.
cool.
What are you seeing out there in the market? You seeing a lot of still good activity? Is you guys busy? Or?
I think so. Yeah, we're very busy.
Mhm.
Yeah. The capital equipment stuff, the big ones just take a lot of time for people to pull the trigger and
Yeah.
make the decision, unless they have a catastrophic situation, a fire or something. Those a little more quickly,
Right.
as quick as the insurance company will go.
Yeah.
But no, business is steady. Our most popular product is our Model E 3215 that's got 32 filter bags and a 15 horsepower fan and a 300-gallon dump bin underneath it. So that was a popular size for us.
Okay.
It gives you really good suction, good airflow. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think unless anybody's got anything else, any other questions?
Daisy.
Daisy doesn't have anything. She's stonked out.
Is she snapping now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Her eyes
She
are
gave
open
up
now.
on the
She's,
bologna?
Who's talking to me?
I heard my name.
Gave up on the. You said that is Lebanon bologna, or that's not Lebanon bologna?
No, that's not Lebanon bologna.
No, that's like summer sausage, or
Yeah.
I forget what
That's
he
what
called
I caught it was summer sausage.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lebanon
Is that from
bologna
his
is-
elk or is that from deer?
Well, you said it was elk, and then
It's venison, he called it.
yeah. Well,
You said it came out of Michigan, or where did it come out of?
Colorado.
Oh, he's shot in
That's
Colorado.
where he went. Yeah.
Oh, for the elk. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I assume that's what it was. I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Well, you said he had just gotten back from that. Right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's not what that is. Then that's
Okay.
that's probably just whitetail.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever.
Whitetail.
Still good.
Daisy liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming up. And
Yeah.
Thanks
That's
for making
fun.
the trip.
That's
Yeah,
fun. We'll do
thanks
it again.
for giving us
Not
your
next
time.
Friday. Yeah.
Not next Friday.
Hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. Do you have deer up here for Thanksgiving, or what do you have for Thanksgiving? Turkey.
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 Yeah.
I'll bring some deer, Dad.
My neighbors are
Yeah.
doing a turducken next week. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. Got my daughter flying in from Florida with her boyfriend and headed down to the beach to spend the weekend with my parents and brother and his family and my sister.
Oh, enjoy.
Yeah,
Have a
nice.
good time.
very good.
All right.
Till next episode 21.
For this week's Machine Spotlight, we have stock number 82148. This is a Schelling model FH4 330-310 CNC front load panel saw. This saw has a maximum cutting length of 129 inches with a main saw blade motor of 24 horsepower. The maximum saw blade diameter on this machine is 14.2 inches and a scoring saw blade diameter of 7.8 inches. The maximum cutting height of this machine is 3.5 with a cutting speed between 5 and 160 meters per minute. This machine has a rear programmable fence with 8 dual-fingered grippers with a speed of 0 to 80 meters per minute. This saw comes with 3 front air flotation tables with central blower fans, a cross alignment device, and is wired for 480 3-phase. If you are in the market for a new or used woodworking machine, don't forget to look us up at rtmachine.com. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to support our buddies at Green Street Joinery by subscribing to the American Craftsman podcast and their new YouTube channel, Today's Craftsman. Both links in the description of today's podcast.